water hose going down his back.
Good evening. I call the Alton Board of Selectmen's meeting, January 11, 2021, to order at 6 p.m. If you please all stand for pledge of allegiance, moment of silence.
Mr. McDonald, if you could lead us tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Coming to get you.
See, you already called the call.
Until further notice, to keep our members and staff safe and to comply with RSA 91-A, the state of emergency and the governor's orders, restrictions on public gatherings, the town of Alton is moving from in-person meetings to remote audio participation meetings. To remotely attend the meeting, audio only, visit our website, www.alton.nh.gov, for telephone access and remote access instructions. List on news and announcements on the home page, or telephone the Selectmen's office, 603-875-2113 or 603-875-0229 between 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. for the dial-in code and the meeting ID for each Selectmen's meeting. Gentlemen, I need approval for the agenda. I do have one to put on it underneath old business, which would be Church Street and School Street. Basically, this is coming from Mr. Roberts. And I did talk to him about it. I kind of agree with him, so I need to bring that up underneath 3, underneath old business. And the chief is also here to talk to us tonight. I don't believe it was on emergency management status. I believe it was as a department head. Is that correct, chief?
And also on behalf of emergency management.
Okay. So then, at the time of emergency management, I'll let him also talk to us on the other issue he wants to bring forward to the board, if that's all right, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? So moved, Mr. Chairman. By Mr. Wentworth to approve the agenda as amended, second by Mr. Holt. Any discussion? Being none, I'll poll the board. Ms. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes, both in the affirmative. At this point, we'll go to emergency management update as the chief comes.
Thank you, Joe. So, starting off with emergency management, we fared pretty well so far through the holidays. Any spike that we would have gotten from Christmas and New Year's hasn't fully hit yet. We still have a few more weeks to watch the numbers and see where we're going. Coming out of the Christmas holiday, both Barnstead and Alton, I mentioned Barnstead because we share high school together, so that's very relevant in terms of our numbers and what the risk is to the families within the community. So I had a conversation with the superintendent of the high school, and we looked at the numbers together and felt that very comfortable with them returning back to offering in-person learning. And, obviously they're still offering the remote access as well, but trying to give the students and the families as much opportunity to get back into school as possible. One of the other things that was significant that I just wanted to mention is, so today there was a memorandum that circulated from the Attorney General's office, and what that was, and some businesses received that as well, restaurants, retail, and stuff like that, was the enforcement of the emergency orders directing masks in public places. And what's significant about that, and the reason I want to bring that to your attention and the attention of everybody who's watching the meeting more importantly is that they sent down guidance for local businesses, sort of outlining the regulation that masks must be worn in a public area when interacting, gave some advice. And that advice was pertinent, but also, like I said, I wanted to kind of match that together so people understand what we're doing here at the town hall as well. So their regulation, the Attorney General was putting out to local businesses, they should start posting signage out in front of their businesses mandating masks that are worn or something in the window to help with the enforcement of that. And also some guidelines on how to approach customers or patrons who are refusing to wear a mask or may have some sort of disability or medical issue. Also, they were encouraging local businesses to interact with their local law enforcement agencies beforehand to develop some sort of a plan if they are seeing problems and things arising, which I thought was particularly helpful for the local businesses and the public to understand also what we're doing here, because those are the steps that, as the emergency management team, we have recommended to take here at Town Hall with some issues that have arisen over time here. But you clearly see that the signage that we've put out at the front door to let everybody know what the regulations are, that we will be enforcing those regulations and trying to do the most that we can to inform the public and gain voluntary compliance is what we're hoping for. And then anybody that has any issues that can't wear a mask or, just refuses to wear a mask, we are providing remote options or options outside the door to conduct their business. We're not telling them that they can't conduct business. We're not restricting that from anybody. We're just making other means available to them, if that's the case. Now, with businesses and the Attorney General's memo, a lot of them don't have that opportunity. They either have to come into the store or the restaurant or something to do business, and maybe standing outside the door or something along those lines. That's ability that we have here at Town Hall to conduct town business, but for regular retail and private businesses, they may not all have that option. So,
We having the employees wear masks, because I've got a few complaints about employees that come up and talk to them in the doorways and stuff down here.
yes.
They don't wear their masks.
Okay. That is something I haven't heard, but the policy as it states and as it was put down was that employees will wear their mask to and from through public areas like hallways and things of that nature. They are allowed, similar to the meeting room, once they get to the location where they're socially distanced, they can remove their mask to conduct their daily work at that point. So we are allowing them to do that in their own spaces.
I guess this was coming out and talking to the customers in the doorways of their offices.
Okay. That had not been brought up to me. It's definitely something that we can reiterate with our employees as well. And we'll actually take it up Wednesday morning too for our EMT meeting as well.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
You mentioned mask enforcement in restaurants, businesses, store. You also explained how it's being enforced in the town hall. What are you going to do, or how is it going to be enforced in a business?
Private businesses also have the right to sort of dictate in their sense what they want to do. See, here at Town Hall, we've taken the stance that we're going to deal with it through a trespassing issue. The policies and regulations are in place. If you deliberately, refuse to comply and still gain entry to the building, disregarding employees, then you'll be trespassed from the building, making it legally responsible to stay outside the building. If you come back in and you do it again, then you'll be charged with criminal trespass. That is the way, and any private business could handle it the exact same way. Of course, they can't make the rest themselves, but we would recommend that any business owner that called us and said, I'm having problems, I have patrons just outwardly refusing. And in some cases, I will say, I've gotten phone calls already from business owners asking for help because they're in a high-risk situation where they have some sort of illness, and they're telling their customers, no, I can't let you in the store without a mask on, and they're debating it, they're refusing to, and trying to, create a scene within private businesses. So we have dealt with that quite a bit since this whole thing has started last year. But the trespass issue is definitely a means to an end for some private businesses as well, because if they have the right, any private business has the right to refuse service to anybody for a variety of reasons, as long as it obviously doesn't interfere with their rights. But at that point in time, if they refuse service because they've set a policy, like we did at Town Hall, we set a policy based on the emergency orders being passed down at the state level. They set a store policy. They can enforce that store policy on anybody. So that would be any business owners that have reached out to me already, not so much since the AG's off manual, I haven't heard from anybody yet today. But in the past so far, I've already discussed this issue with them as a way to remedy any problems. For the most part, I will tell you wholeheartedly, every situation we've dealt with up to this point has only taken a conversation, a direct conversation, and that was the end of it. Nobody's ever really pushed it any further than that. It was, you know, you can't tell me I can wear a mask. Once you explain to them, well, yes, it can, and this is why, they've conceded to the fact that, oh, okay, I guess
As much
I do
their
need to
safety
wear
as
one.
everybody else's.
And that's it. So, you know, and these means, you know, this enforcement to the extreme of a trespass is for, you know, deliberate defiance of the regulation. It's for repeated, I'm not gonna listen to you, I don't care what you say, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna do my business, you know, I'm gonna complete my business. But for the most part, we try to gain that voluntary compliance, even after the initial refusal. And we've had a lot of luck with that. We have had a lot of luck with that. And like I said, personal businesses have too. Yes, sir.
Good question. January 15th, the order goes away. As the governor stated, he's going to issue it without further.
I haven't heard yet. I haven't heard anything, even, you know, through law enforcement channels or anything like that. Sometimes I get indication of which direction it's going in. I haven't heard, there hasn't been any talk yet as to one way or the other which way that's going to go. Although I will say that when I saw that memorandum this morning, kind of led me to believe that this may continue. Because if the Attorney General is going to the extent of writing a memorandum at this point, there may be some talks of extending that out.
You kind of need it till the vaccine comes in anyways.
Right. And, you know, that's I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you raised another good point that I was going to discuss a little bit, was the fact that obviously the vaccines have come out, the first group of first responders, healthcare workers, that everybody who's qualified under the first group is starting to receive that vaccination. A lot of them have. I have not yet. I actually received mine tomorrow. But I will tell you that with the vaccine, and a lot of people are out in town in the community have reached out to me or talked to me about the vaccine and what experts are thinking or saying, where, you know, when this is going to take effect and start really helping the situation. I think a lot that we need to remember moving forward for everybody is there's still a lot of unknowns with where this vaccine is going to take us, because there is a debate amongst the entire general public as to some who are willing to take the vaccine and some that aren't. And I'm not going to get into the pros and cons right now of taking the vaccine or not. What I'm trying to just draw attention to is the fact that we still may have a portion of the population that is not going to feel comfortable taking that vaccine and is not going to get vaccinated. And if they don't get vaccinated, how does that affect the overall philosophy of how this is going to help us get past this and move on? So we're still going into some uncharted waters as to how this is gonna play out for sure.
Won't know for a while.
I'm sorry.
No, the question I was gonna ask you, you probably already had people ask you this. Now that ice fishing season is upon us,
Yes.
and there's people on the ice, I was down there setting some markers for the runway. I was getting a lot of questions on the restaurants. And questions on how we're gonna handle, I know how we're not using their clothes and everything. Some were asking if we, in the future, are gonna consider possibly putting porta potties or something for the weekends, for large amounts of people. It's just something that I think we need to discuss, or, I'm not necessarily thinking that the restrooms themselves need to be open, but possibly, if we can talk about possibly putting some restrooms down there. I'm just thinking as time goes on, there's going to be more and more activity in the bay now that we're in that ice fishing season. And activity down there. So I was getting approached by a few people. What's everybody going to do? For now, right now, nothing is open, and nothing's going to be open until further notice.
Now, the bandstand committee does ask for donations, right? So you can go down Saturday and Sunday and have a restaurant on there, on the bandstand. Take donations in that committee.
Take donations for the restaurant?
For a restaurant,
Oh,
on the bandstand. Cook
It
burgers
would,
and hot dogs.
geez, it would be nice if we could,
I'm talking about
at least maybe get the restrooms open just weekends. Open Saturday mornings till Sunday afternoon and closed. versus porta potties, because the porta potties, even if they're using chemicals in it, in the wintertime, they're just gonna be cold, things are gonna freeze. I was hoping that the emergency management team, once they closed them, would consider it on weekends in the winter, because
That's what I was saying.
so many piles, so many feces and stuff were found in the lake in years past. It would just, there'd be more of that being done down there, that's all. Where the water's frozen up underneath the community center, that'd be another place that people would end up going. Just another problem. So I'm glad Paul brought that up.
I just thought, there was a few people over the course of the weekend that were asking me in concern, and these weren't,
Right, this
out of
was-
town, these were some people that live here in town. That are avid people were out there just walking their dogs and stuff like that, so there's a lot of activity up there this weekend, so.
I'll tell you, the people that were coming up to me were having a completely different conversation. It was all the other people that went, that ice can't be safe. Oh, what are they doing out there with all the open water? I got approached 4 or 5 times over the weekend. People
Got that.
when I was off, just out in town.
Well, the nice thing about it, that was the hottest conversation in the whole town this week and nothing else.
That's right. It was.
I don't know if you ever go on Facebook or look on some of the pages, I posted 2 times, I've gone out and I drilled and video the thickness of the ice in certain areas, but I also point out what's unsafe, where it is unsafe and where the ice thickness is that I'm measuring. So I always point that out in the videos.
Yeah.
Well, they
So
had
I had a
one,
lot, I
have
had a
that
lot of
information
people-
out there.
I've
well,
had a
they
lot
had
of
one
people-
rescue down here, didn't they?
I saw,
Yeah.
I saw them out looking. They had passed me going through, but I didn't have radio on me. I didn't know what I knew they were looking for something,
Yeah.
but I didn't know exactly what the call was.
It was a
came
deer
in.
that went through the ice.
A deer?
Yes.
Oh,
And then they went out and they, as they rode and approached the deer turned and it was broke thin ice and broke the ice and made it back to shore.
Oh.
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I saw them with their lights and siren,
Yeah.
or their lights on the apparatus, and they were driving slow. Sort of how they do a smoke investigation.
Yeah.
So I knew they were looking on the lakeside, so I knew they were looking for somebody.
Yeah.
So. But on Wednesday's meeting, I will bring up the topic of the restrooms, and we can
Yeah, I think
discuss
that'd be
it on
good.
Wednesday.
It's not a bad idea to come up with, maybe we can open up on the weekends possibly, so just a suggestion.
Oh, I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Any other questions about emergency management? Okay. One of the other reasons that I asked to meet with you folks on behalf of emergency management and conversations that we had last Wednesday, also in representation of a lot of the department heads. So there's been a lot of discussion about the operating budget. You guys have had discussions over the last few weeks, and a lot of us I've listened to a lot of the discussions. What I was hoping to get the opportunity was to get in front of you and ask, at this point in time, after the discussions have gone on about the 2% reduction, I know I was watching online to the meeting when the board voted in support of that and went to the budget committee. But now we're at a point where it didn't go through the budget committee. And I know in a lot of these conversations, I can pretty much count on just about the fact that almost every single one of you at one point during those meetings said, I don't want to see a default budget. I don't want to go to a default budget. So the big concern at this point in time moving forward, and especially from an emergency management standpoint, going into some of the unknowns that we're coming into, is we're at a point right now where the operating budget is going to go on the ballot, not supported by any not supported by the board and not supported by the budget committee. I know that they have a public hearing on Wednesday. I already have a request, and I'm going to be heard in front of the budget committee as well. I'm going to be there talking to them the same as talking to you folks tonight. Problem is I needed to get in here tonight because we're getting near the point where the ballots are going to need to be published. They need to go out. So I wanted to bring this to your attention and ask if the board would consider taking another vote on the operating budget, given the fact that the 2% that was originally supported by the board has been brought to the budget committee, didn't get to that point. That's not what's going to be going on the ballot at that point. Looking at the original approved operating budget that the board was comfortable with when it first went through. Because the issue is facing it from an emergency management standpoint, what we're facing going into this year. What we faced last year Meaning, throughout most of the year, the department heads have been prevented or cautioned against spending. At the beginning of the year, spending was shut down as well as it was at the end of the year because of the pandemic. We didn't know what we were going to encounter. Okay, everybody was pulling tight. There was a lot of things that were put off to get through the pandemic. Nobody expecting we were going to be running into the better part of 2021 with the same issue we're facing. So moving from 2020 into 2021, that's one issue that we're going to have to deal with. People budgeted, I mean, when I say people, department heads all budgeted account accordingly of what was let or put aside for 2020. Sorry, I apologize. The other issue is if we go to that default budget, not only are we going to be running into problems with being able to get through the pandemic, the emergency management side of things, and what the town has to be able to do to continue with business, but we're going to be running into some serious morale issues with our personnel and our employees. This has been a rough year on everybody. We all know that, and everybody's dealt with a lot. But if we go to a default, it's automatic. It's going to directly hit all of the employees who work through this pandemic as well. And I know I'm saying this to you folks, bringing it up, when I have heard through many of the meetings that I know that that's not what the intent of the cuts were or the conversations were. But the reality of it is now moving forward is that's going to be the end, that could be the end result. I won't say that's going to be the end result, but you folks have all been here probably far longer than I have in some cases. But you know that if a budget is going to go onto the ballot, it's very, very unlikely that it's going to be approved if it has no backing from the Board of Selectmen or the Budget Committee. So that's really what I wanted to talk to you folks about, is maybe your reconsideration and taking another vote on that operating budget based on what has already transpired with the Budget Committee and stuff up to this point.
Appreciate you, Chief. Anybody have any questions for the Chief?
I just had a comment that the Budget Committee has not had their public hearing yet.
Yes, yeah, no, I know, on Wednesday.
So what the Budget Committee does after the public hearing, who knows? They haven't voted on their budget, on the town budget. It's been given to them. They have looked at it, and the other night, they voted to accept it, I believe. Am I right or wrong?
Their recommendations, there were 2 votes on 2 different dollar amounts. One was in the warrant article, it was 2-2 and 2-2.
But they voted to accept, I believe, and not accept and not approve. Am I right or wrong?
The vote,
Motions were made to accept, forget about the operating budget, all of them. The motions were made to accept them, not to approve. They're going to approve the budget after the public hearing.
they do have the right to change their recommendations after the public hearing based on public input they may receive.
Yeah. And the vote was 2-2 on 2 motions.
That failed. But the 2-2 shows as a failure, though. It won't go.
Just like our budget bond. Yeah. We sent our budget on to the Budget Committee. We approved that budget of the $8,237,000. We approved that budget. We handed it to the Budget Committee. Budget Committee reviewed the same thing that we did, met with the department heads. They came in, they spoke their piece. There was no line items changed from what the department heads presented to them along with the Selectmen's budget. They made no changes. At that point, they accepted that budget too as printed to them. The other night, the way I look at it in your meeting, there was 2 motions, they both failed. So right now, going into the budget hearing, the Budget Committee has no recommendation to the public for their hearing because both motions failed. And that's the way I look at it. Because if anybody asks, how does the budget, is this the Budget Committee's budget? Well, they should be saying yes, because this is the budget they're presenting to the people at budget hearing. Then they have the right, after public input, to change things if they want to, or the recommendations. Mm-hmm. They have that right. We don't. Now, once they have that budget hearing. But right now, the budget committee has no budget, because those motions failed the other night. So I don't know what they're gonna present, except for what the selectmen had presented to them.
That's their budget.
That's what they're presenting.
And I agree with the chief, it's not a good idea to send a budget to the people not being,
Not being supported.
Supported by
That's bad news. And I said that the other night when we were doing it.
Oh,
Hate to send a budget out, split votes.
well, you don't know what's gonna happen with the budget committee as of, tomorrow night.
Wednesday.
Excuse me, Wednesday.
I was hoping that this would all be done, because in the years past, when the budget committee tries to hold a meeting before a public hearing the same night, things really get messed up. We've seen that in a few years in the past. And unfortunately, this time, no public is allowed in. They'll only be allowed in on Zoom. So to me, it's still, it's just too bad at this point that we've gone this far. There's no budget by the budget committee. Board of Selectmen are 3 against and 2 for.
Well, the other problem is that there was, poor attendance at the budget meeting. There was only 4 people.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, I was a little shocked at that. But I still say, Chief, that it's, with the 2% cut, gentlemen, it's still almost a 6% increase. It's a 5.78, I don't, it's almost 6%.
Gentlemen, the only way that the vote can be turned over, somebody that, one of the 3 that were for reducing it $200,000 would have to make a motion to reconsider. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm looking for right now.
I'll make a motion to reconsider, see if we can get it at least supported somehow.
You know, take somebody also to second that was on, that's against, for the 200,000.
This is budget committee's budget at this point.
Motion made by Mr. McDonald to reconsider the Board of Selectmen's vote on reducing the budget by $200,000. Do I have a second? Being no second, the motion does not go forward. Chief, thank you for coming in, explaining that to us. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief.
Gentlemen, at this point, with that being said, excuse me. Mr. Rochelle, would you consider the idea of reducing the budget by $200,000 so it goes to the people, that it's a majority of the vote of the Board of Selectmen, so the employees do not take a chance of losing their COLA or their merit?
Yes.
Because that's what I'm more concerned is that our town employees have dedicated themselves all year long. Anything we asked, they jumped up, they did it. There was never
lucky to have them.
or anything. So in all reality, I'm going to concede to the $200,000 because I do not want to see those employees lose their merit.
Correct.
So
That was why I would reconsider.
I understand, and I do appreciate that.
Because
And I'm big enough man that I will concede.
Well, I think
I do not want to lose a merit for these employees because they've done everything we asked for.
And they work hard all year.
Exactly.
So we got to take a vote now for that?
We do.
Okay.
So what's the motion?
Did I misunderstand the first motion and the first vote that we just did?
The one on the reconsidering?
Reconsideration.
I had to have a second from Phil or Mr. Holt.
Right, okay, that's, all right. I just want to make sure I was clear on that. Thank you.
You could not make.
No, we could not, and I was making sure that was true.
Right now.
Sorry, I have to think about these things sometimes.
Now Ruben's motion's on the table.
Now, Ruben's
I'm
Cut
going to make
the
a motion
200,000.
to see if the vote again will vote on reducing the overall operating budget by $200,000. Do I have a second?
second.
Motion made by Mr. Wentworth to reconsider voting on the budget by reducing it $200,000, second by Mr. Rochelle. Discussion.
What is that percentage of the overall budget? That is the 2%?
What you and Mr. Holt asked for 2%, which
Right.
reached $200,000.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to be clear on it.
Yeah.
The 5.5.
Well, the 2% is not 200,000.
That's what you claimed in the meetings in the past.
The 2%, I mean, if you want to get technical, Mr. Chairman, 2% is 209,454. That's what according to my calculations. I mean, I got no problem with
You asked for 2%, and then you were saying it was 200,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I mean, I got no problem with 200,000.
Now, 7,000 of it came off the selectman's salary, so we show that we can give half, part of that 9,000.
Oh, yeah, you know,
Because we don't do this for the money, we do it for the honor and the glory.
Really? We ain't
So
gonna.
I'm gonna go back to discussion. I'm gonna concede and compromise and go to this $200,000 against my better judgment, but my better judgment tells me that the employees deserve their COLA and their merit. So basically, this basically means no truck driver position, added to the highway department. That will take care of that, and also the, benefits and the uniforms coming out of that line. There should be no other full-time fire department personnel added to the payrolls. That will add up, I believe, that was adding up to, it was gonna be a half a year, so that was gonna be somewhere in the neighborhood of $35,000. So the selectmen will have to come up where the rest will come from, of course, from our list from last week. But I would say.
Well, it doesn't have to come from that list. I mean, we
It
can
should
kind
come from that list, or we should come up with the rest of it and let the chips fall where they may on us, not the employees.
Right.
Because the first thing employees will say, don't look at me, I was told to cut my budget by 2%, go see the Board of Selectmen. And employees are the ones who, when it comes to giving services in this town, by reducing it to $200,000, the budget gets real tight, they're the ones that are gonna say, it's not my fault, you can't provide the services because the selectmen cut it. So I'm just saying that there should be no new positions at this point if we're cutting it by $200,000. And I hate to do that to the fire department because we said we would do that last summer. And we also talked about it with the highway department. But I do not see where we can get any other larger items to make that $209,000. Unless you guys do.
and I would think fire department would be more than that anyways, than 35,000.
Well, unfortunately, the chief had stated he's not going out until July to hire. It'd be at the town meeting, and once they advertised it, did the interviews, it would be about halfway through the year. It would have been 65 to 75,000 the second year.
But I still think 35,000, then you gotta add your benefits.
You gotta add your benefits and everything, yes. But that's, between those two positions, we're only coming up to about $90,000. So there's still $110,000 out there that's gotta be reduced, which I think last week it was 64,500. So now you're up on 150.
But that paper that we got last week, I disagree wholeheartedly with that paper, because there's no reason to lay somebody off and take 2% out of every budget when you can come in general and take enough out to cover the tax guy. So you're not laying employees off.
But that's what was asked by the board, to have every department cut 2%. That's what was asked by the majority of the board, every department cut 2%. And that's why the building inspector was gonna take leave with no pay, because his budget's $130,000, and $90,000 of that is his salaries.
Couldn't trim anymore.
So, that's all I have for discussion. I don't know if anybody else has, but, I'm sorry to say, because I fought for that full budget all the way along. But my heart goes out to the employees, not to where we were 2 years ago in the default budget. When the chief came forward and said, well, we can take money from here and here, voted on a budget, a pay increase for the employees, even though the people said no. We did it. I do not want to have to do that again. So, unfortunately, I will concede and compromise and go to the 2%. Anybody else have anything else to say? Okay, I will call for the vote. Mr. McDonald? Yes. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
I don't understand what the motion is.
Motion is to have the whole board support the 2% cut that you guys recommended 2 weeks ago. That's what the motion is. I'm asking the whole board, I'm conceding to what you're trying to do, so we don't go to the default budget, because right now, the way it stands with this board, for 5 weeks now, it will go to the default budget in this town. So I'm compromising, so our employees get their raises. So I'm asking if you approve of the 2% again.
With the employees getting their raises.
If the employees get their raises, right now, if we go to 200,000, employees will get their raises.
They will.
They'll get their raises, we'll have to come up with
Okay,
other solutions.
okay.
So Mr. Rousseau, Mr. McDonald was yes, Mr. Whitman was yes, Mr. Rochelle was yes, Mr. Hall. Mr. Wentworth, yes. Both in the affirmative. So the board, we'll go to the budget committee tomorrow night when I go. I'll represent the board that we are an improvement of a 200,000 reduction, 2% reduction, $209,454. If we can have that amount tomorrow night, Madam Administrator.
Make sure that amount is right, Mr. Chairman.
I'll have
Wednesday night.
Wednesday night. I'll ask Liz and Laura to make sure that amount's right. Chief, thank you.
I'll go back over the budget and see what we.
Mr. Chairman, I'm glad we're doing that. We had also said that we were going to start looking into revamping and trying to make the benefits package better in January. So I hope we can get that on the agenda for next week.
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, you do have something coming up in the meeting tonight. So, I'm glad you're happy with it. I'm not. All right, moving on, gentlemen. Announcements being none, submission of public comments, questions, concerns. Announcements, are we closed on Martin Luther King Day?
No, that's one of those
The floaters?
skeleton crew only
Yep.
type thing, and I was gonna be bringing that up.
Bring that up anyways, I saw that. Submission of public comments, questions, concerns being none, appointments being none. New business, sale of state-owned property, map 15, lot 59 and 59-2, also known where East Alton General Store is. The state has sent a letter in our packet stating that part of that land was in the state right away. They're looking to sell it, and by law, they have to contact the town first to see if we're interested. And they're asking for us, and if we're not interested, I just need a motion to say that we are not interested in buying it. So hopefully the abutters can have it next.
I don't believe we are interested, are we?
Well, that's what I'm asking the board.
That's just two little cabins there.
You interested?
No.
Mr. Rochelle?
No, absolutely not.
Mr. Whitman? Ms. McDonald?
No, but I will say that that was set up with Ray Whipple, with Mrs. Whipple, when they did that beautification with, Lady Bird Johnson. The state didn't keep that beautified, and that was supposed to revert back to the owners.
That I don't know, but this is just what the DOT's at.
There when they did that.
So gentlemen, can I have a motion not to let the state know that we are not interested in the sale of the property, map 15, lot 59 and 59-2.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Wentworth to send a letter to the state of New Hampshire DOT that we are not interested in map 15, lot 59 and 59-2. Second by Mr. McDonald. Any discussion? Being none, Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. Moving on to old business, warrant article, assignments for deliberative.
So this is for who will speak to it, who will make the motion, who will second it, and who will speak to it. That's what this is.
Basically, we just got to say who will speak to it, right? And the rest will fall into place.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if this is budget committee's budget, why wouldn't they have to speak?
Only the operating budget is the budget committee's budget.
The operating
warrant
budget.
articles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Warrant articles are ours, that's what we're presenting. I'll move Article A.
You will?
I'll move Article A.
Article A.
Benefit and pay expendable trust. Who will second it for me?
I'll second.
Who?
Oh, you mean at the table? Yeah, I'll second it.
Town operating budget, we're passing that on to the budget committee. That will be their budget. Article C, waterworks operating budget.
I have a question on that.
On C or B?
No, on B.
Okay,
I'm just looking at the wording here, and it says recommended by the budget committee with a slash.
they haven't voted
They
yet.
haven't voted yet.
Well, after the public hearing, they will say what will be on it.
And,
Right.
and we'll have to change
Well,
ours as well.
yeah, I mean,
Well, this should have said 2-2.
yeah, it should have said 2-2.
I had it 2-2 based on legal counsel guidance. It was to leave it blank until after the public hearing for a final vote on the recommendation of the warrant article.
There is gonna be a final vote on the warrant article.
It will be for this particular one warrant article, yes,
This one, they can't,
based on legal counsel guidance.
Okay.
Yep,
because they'll vote it then, and then if there's any change or anything to it, they have to re-vote it at the deliberate session. At the end of the deliberate session, if there's any change or anything to it, they have to re-vote it there.
at the end of the stage, Budget Committee and Selectmen both have a little meeting to see if they want to change any of their recommendations before it gets put onto the ballot.
Article C, Waterworks operating budget. Yeah, it should be us doing that because we're the ones recommending taking it out of the operating budget.
All right, I'll take it.
Virgil? Who will second for Virgil?
I'll second it.
Article D, Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve Fund.
I'll move that one.
I'll second.
Article E, Grounds and Maintenance Vehicle Capital Reserve Fund.
I will.
Who will second it? I'll second it for you, Paul.
Paul?
Highway Department Equipment Capital Reserve Fund.
I'll take it.
Virgil? Who will second it for you, Virgil?
I will.
Highway Road Reconstruction Reserve Fund. I'll make that. Paul, you gonna make it? Okay.
I'll second.
Bridge Construction Capital Reserve Fund.
Yep, I'll take it.
Virgil? I'll second it for you. Highway Building Improvement Repairs Capital Reserve Fund.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
Paul will second it for you. Rock and Asphalt Crushing Capital Reserve Fund.
Yep, I'll take it.
Virgil? I'll second it for you. Highway Stand Shed Capital Reserve Fund.
I will.
I'll second it.
Well, every time I hear that one.
Highway Sidewalk Capital Reserve Fund. I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Virgil. IT Capital Reserve Fund.
I'll move that.
Somebody second it for you?
I'll second.
Alton Bay Community Center Property Capital Reserve Fund.
I will. I'll move it.
Okay?
I'll second it.
Well, Holt will second. Mount Major Community Center Property Capital Reserve Fund.
Take it.
I'll second.
Retaining Wall Capital Reserve Fund.
I'll take it.
I'll second it.
Yeah, that's a good one for you.
Police Detail Revolving Fund. I'll take it.
Second, Joe.
Traffic Safety Devices. I'll take it. You want? All right,
I'll
somebody
second.
Paul, Rochelle. Police Department Radios.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Emergency Management Related Expenses.
I'll second it.
Milfoil Capital Reserve Fund.
I'll take it.
I'll second.
Recycling Revolving Fund Change Purpose. I'll make that motion. Town Hall Building Improvements Capital Reserve Fund.
I'll move it.
Second for you. Water Main Expense Capital Reserve Fund Interest. I'll make it.
I'll second it.
Shibley's at the pier lease renewal.
I'll take it.
I'll second.
Now, gentlemen, most of those, we'll have the department heads to talk on. Who's gonna talk on the Shibley's at the pier lease renewal?
That'd be tricky.
So let me ask you this.
Well, one, is Liz could talk to it. We've all sat here on the lease and worked it.
Right.
There'll be a diagram, I'm sure, at the deliberative session with it showing the outline, the curtilage and everything on it. But one of us should be talking to it, because otherwise we have to get permission for her to speak.
But would it be worth having, Jim explain?
Jim's gonna be there, yes.
Yeah, but have him get up and explain it. I mean, leases aren't exactly easy to try to.
No, if there's any questions on the lease, then we can do it. If there's any questions, why you're renewing it for 20 years, it's basically for the betterment of their business, for loans and everything to a bank.
I don't mind speaking to it.
You'll speak to him?
Alton Community Services, nonprofit.
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
American Red Cross.
I will.
I'll second.
CAP, nonprofit.
Move it.
I'll second it.
Caregivers of Southern Carroll County vicinity.
Sure. I'll move it.
Who's gonna second? I will. CASA, nonprofit. I'll make the motion.
Second, yeah.
Central New Hampshire VNA Hospice, nonprofit.
I'll make that move.
Somebody do second for him?
I'll second. All right, Paul?
Lake Region Mental Health Nonprofit, that one was a 4-1. I will make a motion for it. And hopefully somebody in the audience will do a second. And if anyone wants to speak, I'll speak to it in case someone's there. Life Ministries Nonprofit. Well, gentlemen, actually, I gotta go back to that one. I'm gonna make the motion in a second, but I'm representing the board at the town meeting, so I really cannot talk to that. The only way I can talk to that, I have to remove myself off the stadium.
But on the double F?
Double F.
All right, so you're gonna, yeah, you just have to get down to the, down off the podium.
Yeah. I'm just letting you know, I'll be stepping down for that one point, because I was in favor of that. Okay? It was the board voted not to approve that one.
Which one?
Oh, right, madam?
Yep,
Administrator?
Right.
yep.
Life Ministries Nonprofit.
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
New Beginnings Nonprofit.
I'll move it.
I'll second it for you. Waypoint Nonprofit.
Oh, I'll move it.
I'll second.
Reports and committees.
Reports and committees, that's not.
Boards and committees.
Excuse me, who made the motion on GG? Who's gonna
On
make?
where? Jay?
GG. Life Ministry.
I think it was me.
Phil.
Phil and
made
Paul is gonna second it.
Okay, all right, I just didn't get Phil.
Now, can I just,
On the petition warrant articles.
Well, the motion, I'm gonna read it, and one of us has to go like that.
can I mention something real quick? Because we had discussed this on the town hall building improvements. Like the fire system, we're only allowed to spend the interest on that account. There's $193,000 in interest this year on that account.
I know that, I provided the information.
I know, but-
You.
That's what I don't understand, is why we ain't putting a sprinkler system in and using that account instead of keep budgeting money out of taxpayers, when you're taking that money, the $193,000, and keep putting it back in the account where we can't touch it. Because once it goes back into the account, we can't touch that.
And that is because I asked the trustees this originally, and then the second year. I didn't ask them this year because it's always the same answer. They don't want to use all of the interest on a sprinkler system where there could be other things that are needed that the interest could go for.
Maybe we gotta bring them into one of our meetings and demand it, because that interest, when it goes back in the account, we can't touch it ever.
The interest doesn't go back in the account, the interest stays there, keeps building.
It's always separate.
Yeah, there's only the principal that we can never touch. So whatever was the,
Interest doesn't get put back in the account at the end of the year?
it's not like the library.
Right,
Oh.
separate type
Gotta
of.
be able to use, that's half of it.
So that, that's between you and them. I'm just,
We have the right to request that of them.
Yes, and I think we should, instead of keep putting tax money away, trying to save for this thing. Because our luck, we're gonna get almost to it, and the place is gonna have it before we put it in, God forbid.
So if the board wants to speak with the trustee, you know, it's
Why don't we
your
leave
decision.
articles the way they are for this year? And then we bring the trustees next year and say, we got this much money saved, we'd like to have this much money to put in the fire suppression system.
Yeah, I don't mean change anything.
Oh, no, you can't do it.
I'll get into that.
So, Madam Chairman, Madam Administrator, I'm just gonna ask you one question. When there's a vote, just say the operating budget, when it was 3-2. The first letter that comes, is that for or against?
So the Senate, you have to read the sentence, not recommended by the Board of Selectmen, 3-2. That means 3 did not
That's where
recommend
it
it.
gets very confusing for the townspeople when they're doing this, because they look at all the others and, okay, just to let you know. I just wanted to bring that up, so
Yep.
I want to
So-
make it clarified to the people that's listening tonight.
Yep.
Make sure you read these very specifically.
And we've done it the other way too. Keep the wording as recommended by. So in this case, it would be recommended by 2 to 3.
Right.
And there was even more confusion.
Okay, no problem.
Can we put 3 no's and 2 yeses and put no and yes underneath them? To
So
make
it depends on how the sentence is
So now it
worded.
doesn't matter because we've all agreed on it.
It's changed. No, I'm
So
just saying
it's
it's moot now to
Yeah.
even talk about it, because that
It's
is.
just that someone reading it quick like me,
Yeah.
so they say, hey, maybe I made a mistake, I should have left it alone, but then I read the word. So anyways, we got that done, gentlemen. Let's move on.
What was JJ?
JJ, the moderator, will make.
Okay, well,
Moderator reads
Why
that
don't
one,
you
yeah.
throw your hand up?
One of the petitioners will have to move it, somebody else will have to second it.
That wasn't done by petitioner, JJ.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, according to this, it was.
Didn't think it was. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we were just putting it in anyways.
Yeah, you know who that is.
Employee personnel policy draft at your desk, gentlemen. Laura, the town administrator, has provided you with a part of a draft on employee policy, not all of it, correct?
This is the proposal. There are 4 separate sections to it. I can't, anyways, it's for you to take home, review it. In a couple of weeks, it'll be back on the agenda with Laura present for Q&A.
Well, what I'd like to do, Liz, is to have one section discussed. I don't want to try to do 4 sections in one night, so questions and answers. I'd like to have it broken up in 4 different meetings,
Sure.
if we could. That's the biggest one. Employee handbook is the biggest one.
So it's supposed to be all one,
Yeah.
and it actually is when you get a copy. It's just because a couple of these have a signature sheet, a new signature sheet that has been assigned to them, but
Yeah.
absolutely, we can do this in 4 separate.
This one here is going to be the largest. Could I ask a question?
Yes.
I know I'm a young man, 59 years young. But anyway, I can get a bigger print.
Really? This is pretty struggling to see it.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing.
It is rather
We're
light
rolling,
reading.
Liz, we're rolling.
And certainly, but you'll need to have this copy as well because of the comments in the column on the right-hand side, like the changes that were made, things like that. So I will make sure that you get a larger.
Could I please? Because it really, to be honest with you, I got this one here, good print. And I got this one here, and it looks like I'm doing a lease, but not all might qualify,
Yep,
because it's all in small print, okay?
yep.
Okay.
Remember, you're working with.
So I would like to see us, this one's gonna be large enough to get through, for all of us to read, right, our comments on our questions. I would like myself to see Town of Alton Workman's Compensation Policy, that's pretty short, and the
Yeah.
Drug and Alcohol-Free Workplace Policy. I'd like to see us do those 2 in 2 weeks. Disciplining grievance compliant, I would like to have that be a separate meeting.
Separate, okay.
Then,
Workers' comp.
then the employee handbook,
And the
the
big.
Oh, you want to do workman's comp, hang on.
Yeah,
Do workman's comp and the drug alcohol together,
Okay,
one meeting. And then the other 2 separate.
yeah,
Yeah,
separately, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. And,
The grievance will be the second one week we do, and this one here is bad enough, so we'll put this on to our last meeting.
okay.
Okay, so
So
we're
the
not,
first meeting, we're gonna discuss,
First meeting, you're gonna do workman's compensation policy and drug and alcohol.
drug and alcohol and workman's comp, first week.
okay.
Second, after that, we'll have town grievance, discipline grievance complaint and appeal procedures. So if you can review this week, so we can go over this,
Be the second week.
okay? We
And
get through,
this one will be last.
get through this, then we'll move, then town administrator will schedule the discipline grievance meeting.
There aren't a lot of changes in here, just so you know. It's the old format put into a newer format, which is just easier to find things and everything. Anything that's changed would be very, very minor, and you'll see it in the comments. So,
Well, the other thing is,
Yep.
gentlemen, once we review this, before we take any action on it, we did state earlier this year, we're changing the policy. I know we said health insurance, but I think any department head should also look at this with us. Because they're the ones that are gonna have to enforce it. And get their suggestions.
Oh, definitely.
I think they should be involved in it anyways.
Okay, so we're done with that. I'm gonna move on to number 3. This week, we're coming up on Wednesday, the engineering, bids will be coming in on Wednesday to be opened up. Mr. Roberts came to me, and I'm sure he's there tonight listening. But he come to me and asked me, once these bids are open, before they award them, if the town engineers that we hire now, that we have on board, planning board, if they have not bid on the engineering for Church Street and School Street, if he could sit down with them and go over the bids to see the best bang for the dollar for the town of Alton, because he does not want to miss something. It's been since 2004 since something like this has gone out to bid for engineering.
And
So he's requesting, before they award the bid, to have him and the town engineers, as long as they did not bid on the work, to review the bid specifications coming in.
Makes sense.
If that's all right with you, gentlemen. I'm gonna bring him into the meeting anyways, because he did come to me.
Absolutely makes sense.
You bringing Mr. Roberts?
If you don't go over a big bid like this all the time, it's easy to
No.
miss something.
Oh, very easily.
Mr. Roberts, are you there tonight?
Yes, sir, I am.
Automatic.
I'm sure you heard just what I just said. The board is in agreement with your request. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
No, that's pretty much it. Again, as you mentioned, that I just don't want to miss something. We haven't done this since 2004, and it was pretty extensive back then. And like I said, I could forget something and miss it entirely, and I'd rather have another engineer take a look at it and make sure that I'm all on the same page with them.
Thank you, Ken.
Sounds good.
You need a motion on that, Liz.
I think it would be, yes, good.
Gentlemen, I'd entertain a motion to allow Mr. Roberts to review with the town engineering the bids that are coming in for Church Street and School Street, as long as no town engineering firm is listed in those bids.
Second.
Oh, that they didn't bid on it.
That they didn't bid. If they bid on it, he can't talk to them.
Can't talk.
Motion made by Mr. Wentworth to allow the town, the highway agent to use the town engineers to go over the bids from the engineering firms for Church Street and School Street, as long as they did not participate in the bidding process.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Rochelle.
Oh, okay.
Discussion.
May I?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just approval that this will be coming out of road reconstruction money to pay the engineer.
We'll let you turn that in for road reconstruction, sir.
Thank you very much.
Well, any other discussion? I'll pull the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitten?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote to the affirmative. You have the vote, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome. Moving on to Selectmen's reports. Mr. Holt?
Yeah, I just have one issue. I'd just like to see what the board thinks of this milfoil committee. We've discovered that all monies can only be expended for milfoil treatment. We've got, I've been in discussion with the chairman, Dave Gould. They are interested in rewriting, possibly changing the warrant article,
The purpose.
the purpose.
Use it for what?
And, for other things like,
Other invasive species.
yeah, and they bring it before the board next summer. You know, it's too late for this year. But, I just want to know if the board would entertain the, changing of that.
Simple reason is because you start tapping into all these different funds we got and changing these articles for what the purpose was meant for, was to do milfoil because we had a serious problem with it. We start to get caught up with it finally, and we want to take the money that you're saving or you're getting and start using it for cleaning the beach or doing this or doing that. I think it should stay in the milfoil fund because that is not totally eradicated yet.
Well, I think we all, I agreed that the beach area doesn't look too good. And it's not gonna get any better.
But put a warrant article out there like they did years ago. I dredged that beach with the crane. And I put 2x12s on my bucket to pull all that stuff and took wheeler loads out of there.
Well, you just can't do that today.
Okay, and if you put a warrant article out and get the permit like we did back then,
Well, no, you gotta go out and get permits and so forth.
get the warrant article out. Right.
We already have this milfoil committee established. And they've done a very good job.
Yes, they have.
And I think this would just be giving them a little bigger area to operate out of.
So what you're saying, if I may?
Yeah.
What you're saying is you want to expand it to more aquatic, plant life that is invasive.
That's right.
And to remove a little bit more than just the milfoil. But areas of invasive aquatic plants.
And they will get it rewritten, and of course, it'll have to be approved by the board.
Mhm.
I think they need to be specific, you know, like cleaning up the beach area or whatever. My only concern is they've been very successful with milfoil. I mean, I've been
They have.
just impressed with them since I've been a selectman. And I just would hate to see that fall short because they tackle something else and that gets sort of left behind, and then we start to get a milfoil bigger problem again. But, so I think if they were to expand their role, it ought to be specific if it's in a warrant article.
Specific as to what plants and what they're considering on doing, so it doesn't expand into something that shouldn't be.
Let me ask you
The other
this.
thing is,
What's
I'd hate to see us lose state money because we
That's
changed the purpose of the warrant.
Oh, you think we would?
Oh, yeah.
No, that is something that would be looked into.
What is the difference? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What is the difference whether you put a warrant article out there and say, we want to clean the beaches, they need help. And we would need, whatever it is, $50,000. That money, if the warrant article passes, that money's earmarked for it, then you can do it.
That's
Instead of
another,
rewriting something and taking a chance
that's
of
another
losing
avenue
matching grants.
we could take.
That was another option that was discussed in a big email chain between.
That's what we did years ago.
That if, you know, you could always.
We did Little Fenway, when I worked on Little Fenway, putting that in with Jonathan, we did the town beach too. We went down a couple of years after that and walked the crane down the beach and dredged it all out, and cleaned it all up. That was probably 35, 40 years ago. And it's been fairly decent, it worked.
Don't go too far. You're gonna be back in your teenage age if you keep going back forward.
But you
I was
were
young.
specific to those two areas and specific to what you were doing, those were the warrant articles and what
Yeah.
you needed for that.
Yeah.
It was specific.
Yeah, and then you go in for the permit and you get somebody down there to
Yeah.
clean it out.
And quite frankly, the people in town, they see the condition of what it's like down at the beach
Yeah.
right now. So they would understand what the warrant article's about.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, we already have a committee for basically the same thing.
But we can,
It's just a different product. Why do we want to go and create more warrant articles?
You're gonna have to, because if you take a chance of losing state money for milfoil, because you're gonna take the town milfoil money and use it on weed matter instead of the milfoil, we could lose state money.
We don't
We're
want
gonna
to
change, the wording would be
You can
changed.
change the wording of it, but the state still might not give you the funds because they're not fighting just milfoil.
Or no, because you'd spend so much money on milfoil, and then you'd spend,
So if,
This is
just say if you had 25,000, and you decide to only spend 10,000 this year on milfoil, the state might only give you 10,000 instead of 25,000.
Well,
Plus-
there could be two funds, one committee doing the work, two separate funds.
Right, you could set that fund out and still have the milfoil committee do it.
Yeah, you have a town beach fund anyways, I believe.
Yes, and it was looked into and it can't be used for that.
Can't use- oh,
No, it has to be a separate
Unless you
fund.
change the purpose.
Because we don't own the water. So
Right.
in order to go into the water to clean out those weeds.
Yeah, we would have to get a permit for that.
Yeah.
Well, either way, you gotta get a permit.
oh, yeah.
It's up on the
I mean, no
sand.
matter who does it.
Paper it.
If it was actually on the beach sand that's out of the water, those funds could have been used, but it's not, it's in the water.
In the water,
In the
it's a
water.
different ballgame.
Yeah.
So let's postpone this until this summer when the
Yeah.
town administrator and the committee can get together and the Parks and Rec director figure out how this is gonna work.
I just wanted to bring it up for discussion.
Mr. Rochelle?
Oh, just, we met, last Thursday on the, master plan committee, everyone, just about everybody was in attendance. And it's moving along. At this point, it's getting ready to write up, the, request for.
Nice.
For people to start, putting in, so we can form a committee to do interviews and so on and so forth.
So you're building your RFPs right now?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So will the RFPs come before the board, before they go out?
I think they will. I think they have to, don't they?
All RFPs have to for
Yep,
policy.
okay, I just wanna make sure.
Yes.
Did you get your other questions that you had asked about a printer and stuff like that answered?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else from you?
No, that was just, it was an update.
No, I just went to the master plan meeting to hang out, get my feet wet on it, because I'm the alternate.
You gotta stop playing more music so you don't hang out with them. Did you hear me?
No,
I said you need to stop playing in the band again, so you don't just have to hang out with the master plan committee.
yeah, I know, you need a life when you're gonna hang out with it.
Mr. McDonald?
No meetings till the 19th.
Wentworth, all I have is the budget hearing, is Wednesday night. I will be there. I will be bringing the presentation to you, to them. And hopefully by Wednesday, I will have which line items to be reduced by the 2%.
Now, is that meeting?
I know that you gentlemen will not have a chance to vote on it, but I will tell the budget committee that is what I will bring back to the board for my recommendations for
And
the
just,
reduction.
just so you know, today I received the library's 2% information. So I've already added it into the Excel sheet, and I'll get that to you Wednesday morning.
Okay. Because I'm coming in to meet with you between Tuesday and Wednesday morning.
I won't be here tomorrow. Have a medical appointment.
Plugging that.
Drop the mic. I'll have to come up with my own recommendations. Okay, not a problem, ma'am.
I can give you a
I'll
copy,
just be with the
actually.
police chief. We can come up with other departments.
Okay.
I've already talked to already said about the fire department, the
Here you
highway
go.
department. I'm probably gonna get shot.
There you go.
All right, thank you. And that's basically all I have tonight for you, is on that. And the only other thing I want to say is God bless America. Your turn,
Yes,
ma'am.
America, yep. So the first thing I have to bring up, speaking of water, is an email that you have at your seat, the TA report, and it's in regard to a tree that has fallen into the Mary Meeting River from Jones Field, allegedly, I guess. And there's a resident here that is asking that the tree be removed. And this has been going on for a few months, and it's apparently difficult for kayaking and such.
Can we find out from DES if we need a permit to remove the tree? But I'm just wondering, if it's still attached to the land, can we just pull it out?
I will find
Well,
out.
I'm curious.
I will.
This came up before.
Yeah.
This came up before, in the Mary Meeting River, there's another one that was, a resident had brought it to my attention, and we were told we couldn't do it. We couldn't have the highway department remove it, or grounds and maintenance, and they ended up doing it themselves.
We don't own the water.
Right, but if the tree roots are still attached to the shore, which we own, can we pull it out legally?
I'll find out.
Okay,
Do
thank
we
you.
own,
And then, once we find out, we'll give an answer back to these folks.
So I didn't know that So this is the second tree then, because I
This is the second tree.
was under an impression this was the first tree that's been in there for quite, well, since.
Been in since this one, the other one was further up, and it was on private property that fell across the road, and that was the issue.
Oh, okay.
It was on private property, but it still fell across the river and was privately removed.
All right,
And the river is the state waterways and the fishing.
This one's on town property?
yeah,
But this one, if the roots or the base is still established to the town land,
yeah,
can we just go and cut it, pick it up?
okay.
Is this on town land?
Allegedly, it fell from town land into the water.
So I don't believe it toppled itself over and went this way. I believe it's laid right over into the water. And as long as it's on town property, I'm just asking, can we cut the root base, pick it up, slide it up?
That makes sense to me.
Why can't we want
If
Yeah.
the tree fell off my property into the brook, going to my house, I'd pick it up and pull it out.
I just want to be careful, and that's why I brought up, it was privately done last night, because we said no. So I think we need to find out, is it
On town.
on town land? If it's not, then something else. So we just can't say yes for one and not no.
Bring Mr. Roberts in on this,
Send
but
Kenny
just
down.
like have you and Mr. Roberts get together, come
Sure.
back, give us an answer one way or another.
Yep.
If we-
Check with DES on it too.
Yep.
That's
I
what
will.
she's gonna do. Anything else on this one, gentlemen? Okay.
All right, and the next item is, another, document at your seat titled TA Report, and it's an email with some information from our attorney in regards to another petition article that you don't have in your binder tonight. And it has to do with the master plan. So I just wanted to get your okay, or just your consent, I guess, on doing what the attorney is recommending on that warrant article at the end of the warrant article. Which is to suggest to add a statement to the article that the article is not supported by the selectmen because it is contrary to the procedures set out in state law RSA 675:6, and it will therefore have no binding effect if adopted.
So even if this is adopted,
Has no binding effect.
so.
Right. It's basically illegal.
So it's still like it ain't, we never even had it.
Right, but it has to go on to the ballot because it was a petition warrant
Do
article.
we have a right to add to a petition warrant article though like that?
I would say we do because the attorney is recommending this.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm asking.
So I just want to get kind of a general consensus, just so that it doesn't surprise you when you see a statement at the end of the warrant article.
Well, after reading what Attorney Sessler said and reading the law ourselves, it's clear that the only way the public can direct that is to elect a different planning board, it seems to me. Because the planning board owns that.
Oh, the master plan?
Yep,
Yeah, well, yeah, it's put out in subcommittees.
Right, right.
There's only two of the planning
Planning
boards on that.
No, what I'm saying is it's still under the purview of the planning
Oh, under the
board.
umbrella, yes.
And the warrant article asks that the public direct the planning board, and I don't think they can do that. They can elect the planning board.
Right.
Yeah.
yep. And then two more things. The next, is Monday is a state and federal holiday, which is the 18th. So would you like to change your meeting date to another night that week or skip it? The only time this room is available next week is on Wednesday night.
Why, we can't have one Monday?
Well, you never have before because it's a holiday.
I
Holiday for some, not for
knew there
all.
was a reason I need to bring my
In
calendar.
case any of our department heads or other employees want to take that holiday off because it is a clover or a skeleton. And if we have a meeting, we just say, Josh has decided after all this time sitting here and doing these meetings, saying, I really want to take that holiday off, you'd end up requiring him to come back.
Lives here anyways.
So
He's practically.
I'm saying cancel the meeting till next Monday night.
Shaking his head.
We come back in 2 weeks and we hit the employee policy.
So just cancel it all together for next week.
It's up to you. If you
That's what
want,
I'm recommending.
Yeah,
Virgil?
yeah.
Sure. Bill?
Yep.
You're recommending Wednesday
No?
or no?
Cancel.
Cancel next week.
2 weeks.
Yes.
We go 2 weeks, yeah, I got no problem.
All right. Thank you. And then the last item has to do with the 2019 audit. You have the booklet that was given out
Yeah.
weeks ago. And if you could just kind of take a peek through it and see if you have any questions on anything in it.
We're supposed to follow that book.
I know,
Took him coming.
I agree.
We couldn't follow him.
I agree.
Being an accountant,
So it's been a little
Big
difficult
time.
getting him scheduled because of the pandemic and everything, and the building is closed and everything, but we will certainly try to get him to attend, at least electronically, remotely. And if you have any questions, you know, if you want to let me know what they are, and then I can forward them to him ahead of time in case he needs to do research on them or something to that effect. Just think about that in the next week or so.
What I did is talk to Liz, if you submit your questions to her, we'd have one person read the questions that night and just say who submitted the question, instead of 4 of us, 5 of us jumping in each time.
Right.
She could read the question, he could answer directly to you. I'm just saying, why does the town have so much money? What's the state of affairs, all of them, which are very good,
Right.
very financially sound. I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
I have nothing further in
Yeah,
open session.
Really? Wow, it's been 2 weeks on this. Anything.
Quick.
All right, gentlemen, moving on, approval of minutes, December 28, 2020.
Move to accept the minutes, select board meeting December 28th, 2020.
Second it. Motion made by Mr. Whitman to approve the December 28, 2020 regular meeting, seconded by Mr. Holt. Any discussion? Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
yes,
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Voted in the affirmative. December 28, 2020, non-public.
And may I make a comment on these?
Yes, ma'am.
These have already been released, so you don't have to worry about any sealing or anything like that. They were released.
on these, okay.
Motion moved. I need a motion to approve the December 28, 2020 non-public session.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Made by Mr. Wentworth to approve the December 28, 2020 non-public session, second by Mr. Holt. Any discussion? Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes, voted. Affirmative. January 4th, 2021, regular session.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for January 4th, 2020.
Second. Motion made by Paul Rochelle to approve January 4th, 2021, regular meeting. Second by Reuben Wentworth. Discussion. Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes, both affirmative. Gentlemen, need a motion to approve the January 1st, 2021 non-public session. And then keep number 1 and number 2 not to divulge.
Second.
You mean January 4th?
Yep.
Yeah.
January 4th, I thought that's what I say, January.
You said 21st.
Oh, okay. Made that motion?
You did.
No.
Didn't I say?
Motion to approve the January 4th, 2021 non-public session, keeping item 1 and item 2 not to divulge, seconded by Mr. McDonald. Do I, discussion? Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes, both in the affirmative. Gentlemen, next is the item is consent agenda.
I have a question on it. On
Can
the,
I get a motion first and second?
I make a motion that, I don't want to make a motion to approve it. I got.
We can always vote against it. We can open it up for
All
discussion.
right, I make a motion, we okay the consent agenda.
Second.
As presented, January 11th, 2021. By Mr. Whitman, discussion.
Number 1, has he already been put over to that position?
No.
That's why we're back paying him the more pay back to the 112?
So January 12th is tomorrow.
Yeah.
So no, he has not started in that position yet, not until you approve this.
It would take effect tomorrow, they'll start paying.
Yeah, I just didn't realize whether they're gonna move him now or wait
tomorrow. If we approve tonight, then we'll move on. Okay. Any other discussion? Being none, Mr. Holt,
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle,
Yes.
Mr. Whitman,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes, votes in the affirmative. Discretionary action request for appointments being none. Gentlemen, we do have a non-public session tonight under RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2B. Do I have a motion to go into non-public session? Motion made by Ms. McDonald to go into non-public session underneath RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2B.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Holt. Any discussion? Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Ms. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Folks, we are in non-public session at 7:20. We will come out and resume in public, and we will let you know.
I jumped the gun.
We're good? Good. Evening, folks, we are back from non-public session at 7:51. Gentlemen, I need a motion not to divulge the minutes of the non-public session underneath A, affect adversely reputation of any person other than a member of this board, and B, render a proposed action ineffective.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wentworth, not to divulge the non-public session under A, affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board, and B, render a proposed action ineffective. Second by Mr. Whitman. Any discussion? Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth? Yes. Vote is in the affirmative. Is there any other business to be conducted before the meeting tonight?
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Folks, as we go into next week, may we all keep our wits about us and our courtesy towards others about us. And God bless America. Thank you. I'll poll the board. There's no other discussion.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald, Mr. Whitman,
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle.
Yes.
Mr. Holt.
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote in affirmative. Thank you, folks, for joining us tonight. Don't forget, the public hearing for the budget committee is Wednesday night at 6 o'clock.